Good morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. I am Oscar Semoyam Soke, and as Moses would say, with a bevy of topics for discussion this morning. This this is Moses Young, not Moses Old. You're most welcome to Capital Gang, Moses Biarohanga.
Good morning, Oscar. My colleagues in the studio and out there.
Yeah, now I have you. You've met Agatha for the first time. Agatha has met you for the first time.
Yeah, I've been listening to her, and I'm not so much on social media, but at least when she's here, I listen because I really miss Capital Gang, even when I'm not on the gang. I listen in.
Yes, and Agatha, good that you finally met Moses in the flesh.
Yeah, I actually had sort of met him before. When you are a journalist, you meet people without them meeting you.
That is
when
true.
in the newsroom, I'd seen him a lot. But good to meet you today on the gang. I used to now.
No.
I used to be at the independent publication. Yes. Also worked briefly with the Uganda Radio Network, and now I have a newsroom called Agora Center for Research.
So now you guys now yours.
Yes, ours. We are many of us. Movement, but I'm happy to be back on the gang, Oscar.
So I allowed Moses to do the questioning there. Good. Abdu is stuck because I think Moses's boss is passing. Munyonyo is stuck.
Kampala. I managed to pass
to maneuver
and make it on point.
Yeah.
I know the route.
And you know the route and the program. Honorable Semuju is in the studio. Most welcome to Gang, Honorable Semuju.
Thank you, Oscar.
Yes, and as the morning people have said, we are waiting for the 100
MPs.
M for MPs.
And I'm saying, are you an MP for you to wait?
No, you. I need from my area, not my area, my judge's home. You are my MP of my village, so.
No, you are judge. I can ask you. You don't vote from Chira.
So.
No, I am not.
We Moses, we invited the coffee people, Inspire Africa, and they cancelled in the evening. So all the fire we had for them, we are going to target you. By the way, do you any of your products, are they coffee products?
I don't do coffee.
You don't do coffee? Moses does cows and milk and stuff like that, and sugar.
And sugar cane.
Okay. So Moses, my topic for this Inspire Africa, my first question to them is, how much money have they received and why them?
So I don't have the figure of the total amount they have received, but why them? You remember when they talk about Vinca, what's going on and so forth. I think even the parliamentary committee report was
about Vinca.
Vinci, was it Vinca? Vinci. Sorry.
Pinetti,
yeah. They talk, even I think that the committee of parliament recommended that why don't you help Ugandans? So sometime when now Ugandan is being helped, then the talk changes around why this one. Now, of course, it was easier to get somebody who was already in the sector to support, and many people would be supported, and will be supported if they are in such a sector. Because what is the government's intention and intent is to ensure that we add value to coffee and export a finished product where it can be done, even for our own internal market. The last time I checked, the Ugandan internal market of finished coffee is about $14 million, which we import from outside. We are a coffee grower, but we're importing coffee from outside. It was about $14 million, which is not a small market, but it can be bigger. Now, if you looked at East Africa in general, the market is much bigger, and so there is a demand for the finished product in the region. So, yes, the group Inspire has been supported, and more will be supported, and other ventures other than outside coffee have been supported before. You remember during the late Murwana was supported for the batteries. The sugar companies, Lugazi, Skol, the Kakira in Jinja, they all supported at some time, so that we become self-sufficient in sugar production. And Uganda today in East Africa is the only country which has surplus sugar production for the internal market, and we're able to export some of it. Yeah.
So when Inspire Africa is being given money, what exactly to do what?
They're setting up a factory to process coffee, do roasting, I think also grinding. So that those are some of the finished products of coffee. There are many you can do. You see, some of us I'm not a coffee addict or so much of a coffee drinker, but here we normally use this instant coffee. Instant coffee, for among the coffee people, they say that is the worst quality of coffee you can ever get. The best quality is roasted, and the other one rounded.
I agree.
But
with
the
that.
most one we get here is which we have grown taking for those who take coffee is instant coffee. So they also do instant for that market. But the most important thing was to add value to coffee in various forms. I also see some of their products, they do some lotions, they do some other things from coffee. So just wait and see.
And this coffee factory, how is it supposed to work? I mean, you have a coffee factory in Tungamo, and there's no coffee in Tungamo.
That's not true.
There's coffee in Tungamo?
Yeah, there's coffee in Tungamo. You see, there has been a lot of, I've been contributing on some of these debates. I have heard you, Oscar, say many times that, people are going to take their coffee
from Bale to Tungamo.
You don't need two. Uganda, as per the last figures, exports about 400,000 tons of coffee. The company, the setup in Ntungamo, its capacity is about to process about 10,000 tons of coffee. So there is a lot of coffee in Uganda. The Tugome group, the Inspire group, their capacity is 10,000 tons of coffee. And there's a time when there was something published on coffee production per region. Ankole sub-region alone produces about 30,000 tons of coffee. So Ntungamo, which is within Ankole, the factory is going to be processing 10,000 tons. So even it cannot finish the coffee in Ntungamo alone. So there's no worry. In Ankole. Yeah. So, and Ntungamo is part of Ankole. And there's a lot of coffee growing also in Ntungamo, in the Bushenyi areas, those areas, the greater Bushenyi, there's a lot of coffee growing. So, don't be worried. In any case, why should anybody, even though it was from Mbale to Ntungamo, what would be a problem? After all, our coffee reaches Germany. Yeah. So, our coffee goes to Germany, it goes to Italy, it goes to UK. So, if you can take it and process it, and for processing, so if you can process it in Ntungamo, there won't be a problem. So, I don't see any challenge on that one. Yeah.
It is a pity that Mr. Tugume cancelled, because he would have been answering far more questions. But the last one to you is, how does one apply to get, I'm going to put the question on social media, how much money has Inspire Africa and Tugume got so far? And you should see how he responds. I was looking forward to him. But how does one get such money?
Well, as I said...
I'd like to apply for schools.
I said, schools might not be among the priority sectors, because our priority now is to add value. If it was a value addition, then that would be easier. But if you say anybody wants to do anything, I should apply, that will not be right. Schools, yes. There are many people investing in schools, so we are not lacking investors in schools. That sector is maybe over-invested, but people are waiting to invest on their own. But here in coffee is where we have been having a challenge, where the coffee production, the coffee market, global market of coffee in the world is $465 billion. Out of that, we coffee producers get only $25 billion. Out of the $25 billion, I think Africa gets $2.5 billion. Out of the one coming to Africa, Uganda is getting $1.4 billion. So Uganda is getting a larger share in Africa. So, but if that coffee, where Uganda is getting $1.4 billion, was being exported processed, we'll get even over 10 times what we are getting. So that's the target, that those who can add value to coffee or to other areas where we have a challenge, government can give them a push, later own the factory or the company with them, and be able, so that the most important thing is that Uganda to earn more returns from coffee than what we are earning now when we sell coffee beans. Yeah.
So let's go back to the question: how does one apply?
The question, well, when doing that debate of how do you help Ugandans? Because it was a big debate, and Parliament made recommendations to help Ugandans. So the people who are already in the sector approached the government. The Tugume approached the government and said, for us, they already started their own factory. They said, we want help to continue with your cry of adding value to coffee, and government came in to help them. So if the others already in that sector, government is more than willing to help them.
So Moses, you may not be aware of the annoyance. Some people are annoyed, especially about Inspire Africa and Tugume, him getting money, and I invited some of them come and speak to Mr. Tugume on Gang. And they all refused. They said, no, we are not going to come and sanitize his things. And especially, they're saying, you closed UCDA. And monies, maybe that would have been going to UCDA, have gone to Inspire Africa.
No, don't confuse.
And let me just finish this to you. And okay. I want you to declutter it, to remove the confusion. And now Inspire Africa seems to be promoting a coffee marathon with celebrities coming to get money from the marathon. And yet the people in coffee would like to get that money. I don't know if you know the pain they're having.
Well, maybe you are misrepresenting their pain. Because the close of UCDA has nothing to do with
with supporting coffee farmers.
Yes. Well,
the thing about Inspire is that they receive money that others would also like to receive in the coffee industry. I
have said, I've added, I hope you have been here listening to me, that if it is in coffee, in the value addition in coffee,
they will get.
Let them come, they will get the fund.
Come where?
They come to government. They know government. You don't know government. Now, so UCDA was involved mainly, among others, in giving out seedlings to farmers. The idea of seedlings to farmers, and they were getting a budget of about 50 billion a year, if you recall. Now, the money which would have gone to UCDA is not the one going to Inspire Africa. The money which would have gone to UCDA is going to PDM. If you look today, the biggest sector within PDM has been coffee. Many people borrowing money under PDM to go into coffee growing. The role which would have been played by UCDA. So that role of people engaging in production of coffee at farm level has not been hindered or stopped, notwithstanding the RAPEX, which the rationalization of UCDA into the mainstream ministry. Otherwise, other works which UCDA was doing, like certification and so forth, are being carried out by the Ministry of Agriculture. In any case, like for exports of coffee, it was being done by the commissioner for crop production, not UCDA in particular, but they were working it in tandem. So the works of UCDA will continue to be done under the ministry, notwithstanding that we can also support people involved in the processing of adding value to coffee. Yeah.
Honorable Samuju, you are government, so people should come to you.
You see, the debate on State House scholarship, when it started, the president said when he's at his farm, people stop him when he's touring his farm and they want school fees. And then we asked ourselves, how many people, first of all, how many people can stop a presidential convoy and it stops? And then you
ask Cartoon to when he's here, because he's the one who has been stopped.
Did they attempt to? So it is the same story. But Oscar, let me give you the figures so far. In the budget of last financial year, 2023-24, 37 billion was given. Initially, they were a group. How it ended up being Inspire Africa, I don't know. But initially, they were a group. They met us in Munyonyo. I sit on the budget committee. They were led by Odrick Rwawogo, presidential advisor on, I think, export, but who also marries President Museveni's daughter. Is the one who led them into the meeting.
You know, Honorable Samajo, I have an appointment to meet Mr. Odrick Rwawogo.
But he was on the show here, and I told him that.
We have an appointment to tell me all the truth, because Samajo is always telling lies on the Capital Gang. So he's going to find.
Why doesn't he come here? Because one time we had him here.
He told me that I have a bigger voice than his. So he's going to meet me and give me all the information that Samajo keeps lying about.
So he's the one who led the...
Samajo, in every sentence he talks about Rwawogo. So now you
But
know.
you have asked me about coffee. And I've told you when we are processing the budget in Munyonyo, he led a group of about 20 investors. And Rwawogo told the committee that they needed $100 million. And he gave us figures of how export was going to transform Uganda's economy, growing the GDP from, at that time I think it was less than 100 billion to about 500 billion in 10 years. He is a very good communicator. So he left with his group. We protested. At that time, the owner Mwanga Chivumbi was the shadow minister for finance. We protested. And one of the reasons, Oscar, we were protesting is the question that you are asking. Because we said, if we have a fund for private investment, establish the fund, establish the criteria for accessing it. There was no criteria. The only access was because Rwawogo is involved. In this financial year, which ends in June, they were given 75 billion. Just last month, they came back to Parliament and they were added 67 billion through a supplementary. So far, the known figure is 112 billion. That's the money that has been, I said the known, because I am looking at money that goes to them through the budget.
You haven't added the one of last month now, because when you add the one of last month, it becomes 170.
The one of last month is 67 billion. What is in the budget is 70. Yeah, it is. You are right. Yeah. So they were given 112 and added another 67, making it 179. So far, that's the money. Sankani Mwanga did warn Parliament. He said, you see, they asked for $100 million, which is about 370 billion. The moment you give them 37, they will keep coming. So that's
the listeners are saying that they've received $65 million so far. They are going to receive another batch next week.
Which listeners are those?
Listeners of Capital Gang.
Because we are talking about money that has been passed by Parliament so
yes.
far, which is 179.
Yes.
Does that equate to $65 million?
It may be.
Oh, they sent in dollars.
Yes.
So far, that's the money that has gone there. Last month, I presented a report on the supplementary request. And I asked the same questions you're asking. First, we met the Minister of Trade and Tourism technocrats who were applying for money on behalf of the company. And we asked him the first question: what is the relationship between Uganda or the taxpayers and Inspire Africa? They said at the moment we have no relationship, but the Attorney General is studying, still consulting. We may establish a relationship and maybe get some shares in the company. But at the moment, no relationship. And you remember when Sudiri was given money to construct the Commonwealth Resort in Munyonyo. At that time, it was 12.5 billion. The Honorable Cassiano, who was chairing the committee on park, ask the Auditor General to go and audit Munyonyo, because by law, if government has a stake in your company, you must be audited for us to continue monitoring the government share and value. And Sudiri said, this is a private company. Did I invite you to come and invest in my company? And the story ended there. 12.5 billion invested, ended there. Recently, we added another 100 billion that is constructing a conference facility when we are hosting NAM. So the problem is not establishment of a fund that can help private investors would be okay, provided there is a criteria and an office where you go. That's why Moses vaguely says that you go to government. Moses knows, because what is government? So in the committee, even how, by the way, they appeared. But you see, Ruawogo is a very powerful man, Oscar. He even went and attended, not only attended, but addressed a cabinet retreat in Chankwanz. And the president said, this Ruawogo group didn't do COVID test, let them speak to you, and then they go away. So that's casually he entered the cabinet and he said, you ministers don't know how to communicate. No, your presentation.
You have made my lunch with Mr. Rabo Golonga.
So that's as far as Inspire Africa is concerned. They walked to president, I think, through his children, and then the president said, I will support, and then it became an item in the budget. When it will end, I don't know. But so far, they asked $100 million US. So far, we have given them about half. So you expect another some billions in next financial year's budget. Okay. And Oscar, the point is, because we have discussed coffee here, I don't know how many times. It's because international trade is not like selling cows to Kampala. Even when you have something to sell, it is a tall order. I told you, Oscar, here, I was with the Ugandan embassy in Turkey, and I was complaining that you guys, look, Colombia and some other countries in South America, they are the ones selling here mango, banana. Ours is better. And they told me there is an agreement between those countries and Turkey that you will never penetrate this market. So the international market, you must know whether what you are doing is you will be able to sell it. The story of coffee, go back to Sare and Kabonera, when they had a meeting with the Coffee Development Authority and Museveni, and said, we are now going to promote Uganda's coffee in Cairo, in China, and in Europe. And they went and hired a truck. Sare and his group put on coffee, started moving from one supermarket to another, and people were just laughing at them, that you can go in a supermarket in Europe with a truck, with the music blazing, and then you park and Oscar, these things are real, they are in reports. So we are doing the same things. The desire to add value so we can earn more money, nobody can question that. But you don't do it this way.
Agatha, if you Abdul has made it, welcome to Gang, Abdul. Moses said it is just because you don't know Kampala, you don't know how to maneuver. That he said it on.
Do I have to maneuver?
He said it.
Yeah, but he has told you.
Yes, how to maneuver.
To live in Kampala, you have to maneuver. Yes.
I don't know that that's a compliment on his part.
But Agatha, listeners are sending messages. There's one says that they are planning to do Africa Coffee Park as well with a sports complex, a 4,000 seater, and so and
that's
saying,
the value to the coffee.
Yeah, should this money have gone to farmers and cooperatives? You're the researcher.
Are we supposed to ask the questions that were supposed to be for Tugume?
We can ask them, Moses.
Okay. So
let me lift the microphone so that you're even clearer as you ask Moses. He's a very tall man.
This is yeah. Okay. So first, let's on the 179 billion we've talked about, add what is in the coming budget, 58 billion. I have letters saying add them 58 billion from Ministry of Finance. That makes it 200.
This will be in June.
Yeah, that makes it 237 billion. So they are on course to get their 370 billion that they asked for at the beginning. So the questions I have, and you asked Moses, but I would like to ask again because he didn't answer them. who is Tugume? Why are we giving money to Tugume?
He's making
What
notes.
was the
He said he's Ugandan.
what exactly? There was a Ugandan called Andrew Rugasira. I think that's the person that has been known the most in coffee. Why didn't we give Rugasira money when
He was really
the good
struggling.
African coffee was collapsing? So and like you said, the people were many. I think it's Honorable Semuju who talked about people that appeared before them in the committee. I think the last time we talked about coffee here, I told the story of how some of those people told me how they zeroed in on Rwabogo being the one to present the first budget of 37 billion that time, because they said they wanted someone that the MPs will not refuse or ask tough questions. Those people were kicked out, alienated. That's why they can't sit here with
Nelson
Tugume.
Tugume.
There was a problem of how money is allocated. There was a coffee expose, I think that was January 2024, where it turned out that this money was going to Nelson's wife, Nelson's mother, Isako in Ntungamo, and the relatives. Most of them Banyankole, by the way. I mean, all of them that are in that circuit. We asked why they were only Banyankole involved in that coffee, and Ankole region is number 5 in growing coffee. So it's not number 1, it's not number 2, it's not number 3. Even that is questionable, that you leave Buganda here, which is the
number 1.
Yeah, you leave Mbale, no, that Elgon region, and you go to Ankole. So one is, what was the criteria to say that these are investors? Because Moses said that even you, if you went as an investor, you'd get money. No, there are so many investors that have not got it.
Yeah, I said school, I won't get.
No, I mean, if you went as value addition.
Value addition.
So what was the criteria? But also, what is the relationship between the government of Uganda and Inspire Africa? How are we going to get any
kind of what Semuju has been saying
from that? And the third, I think, is the Ankole region being number 5, and that's where, because he was talking about the coffee grown in Ntungamo. I come from Ankole. We grow in a subsistence way of, you have just a few cups to take your children to school. It's not on a large scale like these other regions, but that's already done. It's already there, the factory. Are we putting anything in place to make sure that other people are benefiting? Why do we keep adding money year in, year out when there is no formalized structure? There was UCDA. You see, that's the thing, that we leave legal structures, legal institutions, and go for informal ones. So PASID took over UCDA and Export Promotion Board and all these other things. And this is
what is PASID?
The Rwabogo outfit, a presidential advisor on, something like that, but they call it PASID. So this is
Joseph is smiling. He's saying how my lunch with Rwabogo is going to be very long.
This is a government that talks about rationalization today, but adds more outfits, illegal outfits tomorrow, and those are the outfits that are getting money, investments that the legal institutions should get. So all those questions, for me, I would like Moses to answer them.
Let's
but
get Joseph as well on the microphone. Joseph, listeners are sending information. Now, I said there's no money to register farmers, and the EU is soon closing come 31st December. The European Union due diligence regulations. But we also had passed the Coffee Act 2024, which requires registration of farmers. UCD had asked for that money, and it was turned down. But now, what does the coffee roadmap look like? You're on microphone, Joseph Otieno.
I think we are just making life, forgive my voice, we're just making life difficult for listeners. And in fact, those who communicate with us are okay. The majority of the victims are ordinary coffee farmers, particularly in Buganda, coffee farmers, particularly in Bugisu, and indeed across the country, including in Ankole, because I'm not sure every coffee farmer in Ankole is going to benefit from Tugume coffee deal, which is basically a family coffee deal. You know, I was this day last week in Bugisu.
I would say there's nothing wrong with a family deal. The bigger question is how do you access?
Indeed, and that's what I'm saying. If only it was nationally contextualized. If only it was nationally contextualized. There's no explanation as to why the factory should go to Ankole, not in Bugisu or somewhere in Masaka. There is no reason why, if we want, and we're now so suddenly interested in this, we should have killed the Coffee Marketing Board. There's no reason why we should speak in tongues about UCD. There's no reason why we don't discuss the cooperative movement, but we discuss a failed thing called PDM, which at the moment we now know is a representation of one member of parliament per 100 villages. I think what's at stake here is what people are not discussing. The truth is that this thing has been localized. This thing has now been so substantially turned into a family affair, and that even the topics we're going to be discussing, I think it makes it very difficult. Every day when I come here, I try to prepare myself to be as objective and as fair to the citizens of this country and indeed to this regime. But it's extremely difficult to explain. Once Ibrahim started talking and then Aga the chips in, and once Moses begins to speak in tongues in terms of response to this, the people I sympathize with are the coffee farmers. The people I sympathize with are the citizens of Ugandans who are basically quite clearly being stolen off directly monies by the state, and in this case by Mr. Museveni, who's Moses' boss. I really don't think I can say anything more than to simply say that, look, I think Uganda is being taken for granted. I think it's a politics of impunity today, and I think on the 12th of April, when only yesterday we should have been celebrating a liberation, genuine liberation in 1979, and Mr. Museveni, in his very sarcastic and insulting letter, decides to put April the 11th as a by the by, tells you what situation we are as a country. So I'm not quite sure that I'm keen on discussing this in principle, but rather I think discussing the wider national malaise. I think this country is not going to change unless and until Ugandans walk up to the reality that Mr. Museveni is taking them for a ride and has taken them for a ride in the last 40 years. I think that really, by and large, is the bottom line.
This is the first time you've not mentioned UPC.
When I told you that I was in Bugisu, I was telling you that I was.
Throat.
Pardon?
Yeah, the sore throat.
The sore throat. Thanks actually to the NRM. I was actually busy mourning. I cried quite heavily last week for a 6-year-old child who died from cerebral malaria in Tororo. Let Moses say that. But also in Bugisu, I was busy. I went to bury the wife of the first Minister of Public Service and Cabinet Affairs, Mr. Joshua Wakoli, the first minister from Bugisu, and indeed, of course, UPC. He is the one, together with their team, who created the public service systems that this regime is busy breaking. So talk UPC again, we shall discuss in the next moment.
Let's go to Abdul Katuntu, who was formerly your mate over there.
Abdul's fine.
The DNA still remains.
And formerly Ibrahim's mate.
But Abdul, Moses skips the unanswered Auditor General's queries on previous grants to Inspire Africa. So, were you the MPs? Have you forgotten all that and let it go?
No, I don't think so. And as long as the issues raised by the Auditor General remain unanswered, they'll continue being a subject of public conversation. You see, with risk degenerating into, is this Banyankole thing, is this, is this, I think we lose out on the bigger picture, and that's why I always want to have my brain, focused.
Fair enough.
Do we need what we call strategic intervention in some sectors by public? Absolutely, yes. How do we handle that? At one, a policy level, and two, at a legal level. And those are the two questions, in my view, which we should be discussing. And people like Moses, we all agree with you about strategic interventions. We do. Because you see, even when you talk about the parastatals the UPC government put in place, these were strategic interventions. Because in most of them, actually, whether Coffee Marketing Board, Lint Marketing Board, all those ones, there was public money in them. But this was about strategic intervention. What did the UPC government do at that time? One, you put up a law. Because many of them, actually all, were statutory corporations.
Yes.
So there is a law that governs them. So everybody, all members of the public are put to notice that there is public money put in this for this purpose. That's number one. Number two, there is a criteria, and I think that's what Agatha and the Honorable Semuji were complaining about, a transparent way of accessing those resources, such that it doesn't appear that it is favoritism, it doesn't appear that it is corruption, and it gives a chance to literally everybody. Say, well, in this financial year, we have put 100 billion shillings for strategic intervention in coffee. Now, Agatha, who is a co-farmer in West Nile, Joseph, who is a co-farmer in Buganda, Katuntu, who is a co-farmer in Bugisu, we write proposals, we apply. We know the criteria, and then the best of us accesses those resources. And it is transparent, it is reasonable, it is logical. And Moses, some of you who sit in the closed meetings, I think you need to take some of these conversations seriously. That the public is not necessarily against interventions, but how is these interventions being made? And that's the conversation we are having every day, because we seem like we have not learned from the mistakes we've made in the past. And the public gets irritated. Yes, the other one didn't work out well. We gave this one money, but somehow we don't see value for money, or what we call in economics a return on investment, where the public has put its resources. So the cry of many Uganda is, can we have a clear policy? How does one access those public resources? Other than saying, look at me, who knows Moses' house, I'll knock there in the morning and the evening. I walk out, say, well, by the way, the minister has been directed, the so-and-so has been directed. So that is the conversation, in my view, and that's the conversation we are going to continue having, that unless and until we have a clear public policy on how we do public interventions, I'm telling you, this conversation will never go off table.
And we've been very patriotic on this, Moses. We discuss coffee regularly and other products. Richard in Bugolobi says, Oscar, my pain is with the closure of Bugolobi coffee plant, which was already processing coffee, though it was not processing final product, but I'm sure it would have been there by now. Tony Kent says, Uganda Development Corporation owns Munyonyo amongst other facilities, giving you information. I also didn't know that one. Coffee shops world over earn the highest margins in the value chain. So let more Ugandans drink coffee in decent coffee shops, and Uganda will earn more from the crop. That's Joe in Kampala. Do we have? Is there proof of government? Is there proof of government ownership in this factory? Then I have someone here asking,
and that should always be in the policy. Because if we are putting money, are we putting in what we call equity as government? Or are we just donating?
OSM,
or have we lent so that it is repayable? All those should be clear, and so that the public and every stakeholder knows that once you put in money,
this is what you will get.
The public recovers it this way.
In fact, Edward in Tinda says, OSM asked whether Inspire Africa has a strategic document, whether Inspire Africa has already identified a market for its processed coffee, and what is the estimated annual earnings. Moses, back on microphone.
Thank you, Oscar, and contributors and my colleagues in the studio. Agatha asked many questions. Well, if one of them, she said, why didn't the government help Andrew Rugasira, who was in the coffee sector? To the best of my recollection, Andrew Rugasira has ever been helped by government. That's a fact. You can ask him if you want, but that's a fact. Now, in any case, but for him, remember, he attempted to export finished product of coffee. He was helped by government, as I know for a fact. But now when you come, what he was doing now, ended up doing in Kampala was just selling. It was a coffee shop, but and was never helped. Somebody then he also.
Oh, he was helped.
Yeah,
has ever been helped.
Yeah, but that's a fact.
To do what? Was he helped to put up a factory, or was he helped to promote coffee drinking in Uganda? Because
or a bailout.
That's what it is. What was he helped to do?
Or a bailout.
Yes, or a bailout.
Good African coffee was helped by government. Well, yes,
but business has collapsed. To me, I don't think that is business has collapsed.
That's also a fact.
I don't think they helped him to the tune of how they have helped him.
It depends on what he wanted, what type of help he wanted at the time. Because he was setting up a factory. Tugome is setting up a factory. Yeah, you should get it. So you were saying why leave? You see, collocation of factory. I did some economics. It depends on who now. You see, Tugome had already started his own factory. Yes, had already started setting up the factory. There's no doubt about it. He had. You need to go there and see for yourself. Now he had already started. Now when he came for government to help him, it was already there. So it started. So you couldn't say why put it in Angola and not in Uganda where there's more coffee production. And as far as the processing is concerned, me, the one going to run a factory, I can choose my best. Look at the processing factories of other products. They're not necessarily in where the product is grown most. But that's not, to me, a big issue. If Tugome had decided to set up his factory in Ntungamo, Ntungamo is part of Uganda, our coffee is being processed now in Germany. So what is the problem? It's not about Ntungamo being him being a Myangola, Ntungamo being the Myangola area. It is Uganda, as far as I'm concerned. There are other factories which have been set up in relations with government in other places. If you go to Nuoya today, there is a Bukona factory which is processing cassava into ethanol, and that ethanol is being exported mainly to Kenya. It was supported by government to process cassava which is being grown in that area of Acholi. We have another factory being set up in relationship with the Catholic Church in northern Uganda, around Acholi P, to process cassava. We have Teju factory processing juices in Teso area. So it's not about don't tribalize the factories.
That one I agree. Information coming in.
And say,
Andrew Gasira was forgiven taxes after the company closed. That's not
this
helped.
Was much before.
He begged them.
I know it as a fact. You see? I know that for the fact. So don't.
He begged them for many years.
Don't doubt me. You talk to him himself. He will tell you. So is there enough? Angola may not be the number one grower of coffee, but I've told you, the capacity of Tugome, his factory, Inspire Africa, is to process 10,000 tons of coffee. There's time when it was published in newspapers, production of coffee per region, and Angola is producing 30,000 tons of coffee. So there is enough supply if he wants to buy from there, but he can also buy from anywhere else. It doesn't stop him from buying from Bugiso if he wants Arabica, because Angola doesn't grow Arabica. If he wants Arabica, he can buy it from anywhere as long as his price is competitive. Now, Passy took over UCDA. That's not true. UCDA was the issue of rationalization of UCDA came in that big report. The Abdul Katuntu was in Parliament, know it. The companies were so many, and it was agreed. So Passy never took over from UCDA. I've told you most of the work, especially when it comes to giving out seedlings of coffee, that work is already now under PDM, because the people now have to buy their seedlings by themselves. And if you look at the PDM allocations per sector, most of the people who have borrowed the money from PDM are in coffee. And today, if you go into the coffee sector, you will find that there's a scarcity of seedlings, because many people have bought the seedlings and planted them. So we're going to get more production of coffee. Now we need to process it more. Somebody here was saying that PDM has failed. Oh, you are that out of touch with reality, my brother. PDM, you ask Abdul Katuntu, at least for him, is an MP in a rural constituency, unlike the one of Semuji, which is mainly urban. He will tell you how PDM is performing in Ibugweri. I don't have to speak for him. Akongera is a town. So there are many other
Actually, town council.
So our tea factory, if you go to Mavale tea factory in Toro, it has also been helped by government. So the times of the helps, this help by government comes according to the need. It's not about where its location. Is it because the Toro is about Toro? No, if the coffee factory, there's a tea factory in Toro, which is in need of government intervention, government has government to intervene. Now, so that answers the question of location of a factory or an industry. It depends on many factors. Where the helps have come, even in this, I told you earlier that even all the sugar factories, mainly the big ones, Skol in Lugazi, Kakira in Jinja, they were all helped at one time by government, so that there is production. And now Uganda is self-sufficient in sugar production. The only African country with self-sufficient, which is not importing sugar. We are even now, for a long time, we're importing industrial sugar. Now Kinyara is producing industrial sugar, so that we stop even importing the one for factories, which you need value addition. Now, the question of the relationship, which Abu Katuntu ably put, is true. I also inquired before coming here. The issue is going to be that after capitalization of the company has been carried out, the total investment has been carried out, the company will be valued. What government has put in is very clear, and then government will own shares in Inspire Africa after total capitalization. Because now you cannot say we're taking over so much shares before you know how much we have fully spent. So if it was a mistake that it wasn't done earlier, but definitely government will eventually be a shareholder in Inspire Africa, so that will eventually will eventually be a shareholder.
By the way, legally that is possible. You can be eventually a shareholder, but there should be also an agreement.
Whenever they take money,
there should be an agreement.
Whenever they take money, they sign a memorandum of understanding. Those are there, but
they sign with who?
There's absolutely nothing.
The signature of the government is always the Attorney General and the Minister of Finance in that case.
Yeah, but in the case of Inspire Africa, there is nothing, not even a one-sentence agreement.
There is. You don't know.
But the government appeared before us to ask for money.
I'm telling you.
We said you bring whatever is there. He said there is nothing.
I've been assured. Somebody doesn't everything. Somebody knows already the negative.
I am actually not saying I know, but the Minister of Trade appeared before the budget committee. We asked them, and they said there is consultation between Attorney General and the company. Nothing has been worked out.
Please, I have consulted the Minister of Finance. They have assured me not to, because they are only giving the money, not trade. Trade doesn't give the money. So
I like the way Moses answers questions. He says he knows. We move on.
So it's a fact. So you invite here one day, the PSST will tell you.
Yeah.
So if trade didn't know, well, maybe they also behind news like you. But the fact is, there is a relationship which will where government will eventually own shares after the full investment has been carried out. So that's what the
Mikanga Muzamil also has a lot to say about sugar.
How does this country know? You see, we are more concerned today about value addition in coffee, value addition in minerals, and that's why the President came out with a policy statement and said no export of unprocessed minerals in Uganda unless we get somebody processing them into a final product. And that is so that coffee has been going on for a long time. We're sending out, somebody there was putting a question that the plant at Golobi, that plant was just removing the husks on the coffee, selling the beans, which the private sector is doing very efficiently. There's no challenge that Uganda has failed to export unprocessed coffee. We're even now exporting more coffee bags and more tonnage of unprocessed coffee than before during that time when the plant was working. But the goal...
Look at the production, the population at that time and today, and even the size of the economy.
But the land has remained the same.
No problem.
The land has not grown bigger because population population has gone up. In any case,
No production.
In any case, if Ugandan
Maybe we
population
need to
goes
talk
up,
about economics later.
the Ugandan population, if it goes up, it doesn't mean everybody should plant coffee. It's those who can plant coffee.
Those who are planting coffee certainly will also go up.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
We can have world statistics
Not necessarily.
where bigger economies, where they're talking about India, you're talking about Mexico, you're talking about China, all those countries with bigger populations, and then we see the size of the economy.
But today the size of our economy is much bigger than it was when doing those other years.
Yeah, because even the population was small.
Yeah, because people also
Those who produce now have gone up.
I will do.
Moses,
I will do.
basic economics.
Yes, but also basic knowledge.
Yes.
I am a sugarcane farmer.
Uh-huh.
I have about 300 acres of sugarcane. I could have chosen to plant coffee, but I didn't to plant coffee, and my area can plant coffee. So you cannot see both population has gone up.
I mean, it is not only you who is the.
Wait, I'm telling you.
How many people are employed by you in the production?
In the processing,
In what you are doing?
many. But in the sugar, if you know, the employment sometimes is seasonal. If you are planting,
I'm in the sugar myself.
if you are planting, if you are harvesting, you have so many people harvesting, but they not stay there all the time. So it is a ledger. You pay them off and they finish the job and that's done. So you don't have a lot of permanent workers in such a situation. So people are doing other things.
Moses, I have an answer for you here. The reason why Ntungamo is being discussed is because of same reasons. Logistical issues why we don't export to China as much as we export to the EU. So coffee crossing from Mbale to Ntungamo and back to Kampala to go to Mombasa is very expensive.
Is that an answer?
And yes, it's saying it can be difficult to send to Ntungamo.
I've told you don't have to send the coffee
to Ntungamo, yes. And if
because within that Angola
and
area,
we agreed with you.
Within that, so you're not providing an answer. That's what I'm saying.
No, we agreed with you. This one is saying, why not Kampala rather than Ntungamo is the question.
But the choice of placing a factory, it depends on many factors. So I said there's some economics.
And this one has continued saying, let me finish what they're saying.
4 factors.
Also, transporting cocoa and coffee from Western Uganda is becoming difficult because of thieves on the road. I didn't know that.
That's the issue of crime. Is that they can't stop him from setting up a factory. But see, in economics, the issue of the location of a factory is determined by many factors. One of the factors is the availability of raw material. So there is enough raw material for this factory within where they are located. The other factors are availability of labor and so many other things. So where the factory is located is not to be a subject of discussion. Even though it was in Karamoja and you're getting coffee from Kisoro, it will be much easier to transport coffee from Kisoro to Karamoja than it is from Kampala.
I think
from Kampala to
Moses, I want to help here. You see, let us not have a general discussion of whether this it is. The issue is, what is the capacity of this Inspire Coffee Africa?
I've told you.
Just listen. And does the region, Western Uganda, have enough coffee to supply that capacity? And once that question is answered in affirmative, this whole conversation
dies. I answer you?
Yes.
The capacity of Inspire Africa is to process 10,000 tons of coffee in a year.
Correct.
Ankole sub-region, there was some publication here, I think we shared it on
I'm the one who sent it.
You sent it. It was reported to be
fire.
To be producing 30,000 tons of coffee. Have I answered you?
In which case,
no, because that's what I was trying to help.
Yes.
That you see today, that factory is actually small.
Small for the sub-region.
If you are to supply it, I don't think even Ankole sub-region, together with Chigezi, they cannot. You might even need others. And to me is, if we are the policy, we say, okay, Inspire Africa has done this in the West. Can we have one in West Nile?
In West Nile?
Because
and that's my point,
also
yes.
have one in Bugisu. And can we have one in
a bigger one in the central? Yes.
Make my point, which helps. You see, then can we have one in Budu?
Yes.
What we call Budu. Because Budu is actually the biggest sub-regional producer of coffee. So we should be talking about another factory now in Budu and make maybe even a bigger investment in Budu more than that one of Inspire.
Okay.
And then we can have the rest of Uganda.
Moses, just one second. Moses, one second. Let me stop for an advert, for a break, and then we'll come back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. The good thing is Moses Beranga is not on social media, so he will not know that he's now poor Moses Beranga from social media. But let me give you 5 clear minutes, Moses, to conclude this topic. You want to squeeze in a quick
that
question?
somebody from a member, somebody listening, an eminent citizen says, Moses says the government has funded Mabale tea factory. I'm an outgrower to the factory. It closed and has not paid. It has not paid outgrowers. We have had to lay off 78 unpaid workers. Those are my Uganda citizens.
Those are management issues, but government he's not saying government never helped them. Those are management issues. But so,
Yeah.
oh no, I agree with Abudu and other speakers. I think even Agatha alluded to it, saying that we should be helping other similar investments elsewhere. I do totally agree. In other parts of the country, not only in coffee. I know, for instance, in West Nile, governments helped some investors there called Ajedra with in setting up a food processing factory because they grow a lot of fruits and so forth and so forth. So if there are more investors in these other areas Abdul was mentioning in coffee processing, government is more than willing to help them, as it has helped Inspire Africa, because Inspire Africa said they are started on their own. They approach government that we are along the way. You want to help people, we are here. They were helped. So if others come up, they will also be helped along the same lines, irrespective, as long as it makes a business sense. And by the time an investor starts on their own to do an investment, it means that they have done their own study and it makes an investment sense. They wouldn't be risking their capital over nothing. So that should not be a very big challenge as far as I'm concerned. But government would help as many as there can be, especially in coffee processing, so that the country earns much more from the coffee sector than it is earning now. Because now we are exporting the green bean, and where those who import our green bean go and process it and resell around the world and resell back to Uganda. I've told you earlier that Uganda imports coffee, finished coffee, worth $14 million. And this is the coffee which we send out as a coffee bean. So we import it back here. And East Africa is importing much more than that. So even there's a market for Uganda. We start with Uganda, but there's a market for East Africa, where Inspire Coffee or any other company which company can help, we can export coffee within the region. Within Africa, we have the Africa Continental Trade Area. So the market is not a challenge, because people have been bringing that argument. If you can't export finished product from Uganda, but we import a finished product to Uganda, how come it can only come to Uganda but it can't get out of Uganda? Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Moses. The last one was Inspire. Had queries from 2021 relating to monies for setting up coffee shops in northern Uganda. Anyway, coffee discussion will continue. Perhaps one of these days we'll discuss other issues without having Inspire in a conversation.
I'd like to respond to Moses.
You'd like to respond to Moses?
About a few things. So,
A final one to you. Because I want to move. There's a tweet here, Agatha, that I want to start with Semuju. Good morning, Mwalimu. It's Lugeda Michael on X. Now that Jaja Mwami has cleared the air on the MP's PDM money, can you kindly call in the NRM whip to clear the air about that? And our MPs are they as big as parishes these days? Because they are receiving the equivalent of a parish.
How many parishes?
okay, so just before we leave coffee, I wanted to say that it's not true that Nelson Tugume had started construction of his factory before he got the first installment from Parliament, because construction of that factory began in October 2023.
Oh.
And the first money he was given in July after the budget of 2023.
And his Auditor General queries are 2021. So even before then, he'd received money.
Auditor General queries before they gave him money.
Then why
But-
would the Auditor General audit him? I think the
Audit-
Auditor General starts with the 37 billion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So construction
before.
began in October 2023. It was supposed to last 1 year and be completed in December 2024, but it's not yet completed. So it started after the first money was given to him. So he asks Ntungamo is in Uganda, what's the problem? And also says the person running it can decide. If the person is running it with their own money, yes, they can decide. No one is saying no. If the person is running it with government money, we have a right to ask, why isn't it in a place that makes economic sense? And the person that asked you the question of logistics, does it make economic sense that someone transports coffee? And I'm glad he's saying they do not have to. But if we want to add
it's a
value,
public,
if we want to add value, why are we saying people do not have to? Because we are insisting on adding value on this coffee. So why are you putting it where people who also want to do that and are producing much, much more, we have to first transport it to Ntungamo and then bring it back to Kampala? Let me finish. Because for me, I keep writing and ask after you're done. And I would talked about not talking about regions or tribes. Guys, if you don't think there's a problem with about 100 people from one, what happens to equality? What happens to equitable distribution of resources? If you think that let's get 100 people, farmers of coffee, and be the only ones from one region, and they are the only ones we are subsidizing or giving money to, because for me I think there's a problem there. If there was a mix of the 10 people from Bugisu, 5 people from Buganda and West Nile, then we wouldn't have a problem. We should not run away from this world regional imbalance.
Well, someone tells you, Agatha, that Kabanyoro, Mackay University Africa Research Center, has a bigger plant than Inspire. I saw them packing coffee, and that's what they say. SIPA on X says we are tuned in. Can we have more qualified, qualitative statements on the performance of the companies listed and their positive, negative impact in the respective countries in which they are located? That's a good point as well.
But Moses, you are not Tugume. You are seeking to answer every question. Are you Tugume?
No.
That's what asking me.
Semuju, I did tell him that since Tugume is not here, Moses will have to answer the questions.
And he
and
can.
Moses is senior government.
Moses is a presidential advisor in the State House.
Senior government, senior. Go on, Moses. I want to close this off.
It is not neglected. So, first of all, I want to Agatha to understand one. This question that because you have put the factory in Ntungamo, other people will complain. When the government went to help the company which had started processing cassava in Nwoya, for information, is a part of Acholi. Government through UDC went in and helped them, and they are now processing ethanol from cassava and exporting it to Kenya. Now, somebody, I'm going to complain if I'm in Usoga that there's a factory which has been set up in Nwoya to process cassava, and it is there. So why should anybody complain? Now, another one is being set up in Acholi P. In Acholi P. Cassava is produced across the country, by the way. In Acholi P, another one is being set up. There is a Teju factory processing juice in Soroti. There's another food factory in Arua, set up, helped by government. So, as of now, I wouldn't have a problem in somebody saying, why is it they are not here? As long as it is within Uganda, it is using our raw material. As I said earlier, you don't need transport coffee from Bugisu to Ntungamo, because as Abdu mentioned it here, that area where that factory is with Ankole area has more than enough, according to the requirements or the capacity of Inspire Africa. But Inspire Africa will be buying coffee from the market at a good price. If it wants Arabica coffee, it can still go and buy it from Bugisu and process it there. It is now the cost of transportation is on the buyer, not the seller. After all, our Arabica coffee is going all the way to Italy. So going to Strungam is a shorter distance.
To Italy.
Yes, to Italy. It goes to Italy for processing.
So you're going to be exporting through Rwanda?
No, what I'm saying, today, our Arabica coffee is finding its way in Italy. It's finding our no older coffee, not only Arabic, to Germany, to Europe. So going to Ntungam is not be a problem.
We hope so.
I'm concerned.
I was with...
but there is enough production in that sub-region.
I was with Abdu in Qatar, and we walked all those shelves looking for made in Uganda. And some products, they had made in Kenya. They looked very Ugandan, but we could not complain. So let's go to the PDMs. Thank you, Moses, for putting up an inspired, pun intended, an inspired response. So, you're the PDM, apparently. Have you signed out your 100 million? And PDM equivalent, you are a full parish. 100.
You see, Oscar.
So the morning show, you saw how they were laying the carpet down for you. They
yes.
you. But then I saw you are still driving your old car. So where is the 100?
First of all, this money is not like other money given to MPs formally.
Oh.
Because in the past we've been given controversial money, but formally.
Yeah. There was the time of 14, 28.
Yeah, I think the last one was the 20 million during
COVID.
During COVID.
You mean the formally one?
I said formally money is going to be put on your account.
Yeah.
And it is with trace.
Yeah.
You therefore cannot claim I did not receive it because there is trace. It can be traced. This particular one being given under the table, it's very difficult to know who has received and who hasn't. Therefore, the question you ask, every MP will tell you, I did not receive. I have said that many times. Until Museveni came, the whole NRM was saying, no, we did not give money. Mia was in Chitogomo. But Museveni came without confirming, but he confirmed. And then he gave a justification, a fake one. But at least he cleared some air. So he did. If you read, he was justifying. Yes, he was justifying, but he did not have to admit in the form maybe you wanted, but he was admitting. Yeah. So until that, the standard response was that we don't know, we're just hearing. For us as opposition, we convened a meeting, questioned ourselves, and said, if either you have received, or if you have received or not received, you must not accept to receive this money. If you have received, you must return it. And we issued a statement. So that's as far as I am concerned that has happened. But this money given in those circumstances is very difficult to trace, Oscar.
Yeah. Have you received?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
Yeah.
And if it is available to you, will you receive?
It cannot be available to me.
Why not?
The money from its story is to thank people who had voted for 1, 2, 3 things, and also in the preparation for the UPDF Amendment Act that is on its way. I think next week it will be tabled. I don't think they want my support, or they think they can get it.
Yeah. So there's someone, Isaac, on X, Twitter.
I read the President Museveni's letter, and I sent you, Oscar, part of my report I tabled to Parliament. And at the time I was making that response, of course, the many MPs were shouting at me. Because the trouble doesn't start with giving, it starts with making that sort of money available. And this year, the financial year hasn't ended. The budget for the residence of the president, where Moses Biarwanga works as a senior presidential advisor, the budget for that residence has gone to 1 trillion, 600 billion of which is classified, which is 57% of the whole State House budget. I did ask in Parliament, and it is in my report, I suggested we need to set up a committee and interview the president and his wife to tell us what classified thing that they are doing in the State House that require 600 billion.
Or the comptroller.
No. Actually, State House was not meant even to have a State House control, a permanent equivalent of a permanent secretary, because it is a residence under the law.
Yes.
And the president operates an office.
Yes.
So vote 001 is his residence. Vote 001.
Doesn't that happen world over?
No, it doesn't. Even in Uganda, by the way, at the beginning, it wasn't.
In the US, that's what it is.
Not in Uganda.
No.
They can afford it.
Go back to the beginning.
Or they can afford it in the US, not Uganda.
No, go back from the very beginning. The president had a budget for president's office, and initially it was meant to be a smaller department there. Eventually, the department grew into a vote that is now bigger than money for the office itself. So the moment you make that sort of money available, I think the president will use it the way he wants it, and he will write all sorts of justifications.
Okay, let's go to our second PDM in the studio. Honorable Katuntu.
So we are now called the PDM. And Moses has told you it is very successful in the Bugwe.
He's really causing you problems. You the one person. Pardon?
I stop over in Bugweri all the time. Yes.
You are also going to stop because their one MP is equivalent to the entire parish.
That's correct.
So, Abdul, have you received? There's a tweet here. So well, it says by Isaac says at Samuel Msoke. Abdul has spoken so well. Now let him tie it in and conclude with Mpuga handshake money. At that point, he'll start speaking German.
Well, because I supported Mpuga or what? Or I'm a friend of Mpuga.
This is in reference to the 100 million that MPs are getting.
No. One, it would be very difficult for NMP to tell you got money. So anybody who asks NMP a direct question, did you get that money or not? The answer would be, I didn't get it. And once you do that, then the burden shifts to the person who is alleging you got it. And even when you read the President Museveni letter, I just see some people are reading between lines.
Yes.
But there is nowhere in that letter, if you read it, where he says, I paid it out.
I told Oscar privately that I failed to interpret that letter.
But people are reading between what?
The
lines. Oh, this one maybe meant.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have said, no, I didn't, or something like that. So at the end of the day, it's one. Because you see, if you allege, you have to prove. Did these MPs get money or they didn't? And who got the money? And I'm waiting to see somebody who said, ask Abdu, you got this money and this. Then I can be able to speak and say, well, I didn't get, and then say, by the way, you got, here you are, this is the money, you signed it, and so on. And let me tell you why, Oscar. I have seen some list going on social media. And this,
the list says, sign that you shall not accept.
And there is one which says these ones are the ones who got. Yes. And then when you see the names, there are even people who voted against the position. The money was purportedly being paid for. So if it is a bribe, nobody gives a bribe in an open way. You get it. But what I don't want is like, okay, people were bribed, they're bribed. That doesn't make sense to me. So did some people get money? I don't know, because I have not seen anybody getting money, or I don't have that evidence. Did I get? No. And that's the only thing I can show. However, in the past, has that sort of money come? Yes, it has, and I'll tell you why. Because this one, somehow, I have evidence. I have evidence. When we are doing first of all, the term limit. There was evidence because I engaged my friends because that time me and the Honorable Sechikuba and others were very close, and being the NRM, they had been invited to a place where the Honorable Hope Besigye was doing the thing, and the Honorable Nifakawoy and so on. So eventually I got the evidence that actually money was being was being given. I think it was around 5 million shillings.
Between 5 and 13 million.
No. I can give you the exact figure. It was 5 million.
Well, Abdul, I'll tell you, there are some who got more.
No, because I felt that thing in detail to the latter. I even know.
I interviewed her on NBS Face Off.
Yes.
Years later.
Yes. So to me, that you could. This one, maybe later on facts can unfold and we start getting the evidence that actually so and so got the man and so didn't.
Let's go to the one who carried the bags, Moses Biarahanga. So, Moses, you can put it to rest. Who did you give? Who didn't you give, and why?
First of all, before I
go to the microphone.
Before I answer that,
the PDM,
the PDM of the MP that you are calling it.
Yeah.
Mr. Tukume has sent me here a message clarifying. Clarifying that he started the construction of that factory in 2019 before the government came in. This is from Tukume. So that answers Agatha's insistence.
And the allegation that these audit queries were 2021.
Well, he started, but I know for the fact that he had started before government came in. That I know for the fact. I also had seen that factory along the way.
Shift store there. It was not a factory.
So he said he started in 2019.
He had the Mabati. He had the Mabati store.
So, okay. But I knew he had started earlier. Because we were passed around that area, around the Russian area, going those lanes, and you could see the factory coming up. Now, on the issue of the 100 million, I think Abdu has put it well. I don't have more to add or subtract. On what has been raised by Honorable Semuju about the State House budget, in the President's letter, he put it very clearly that classified expenditure normally goes for equipping the army, buying equipment for the army, which equipment has helped in the security of the army, of Uganda. And within State House, the SFC, which is responsible for the security of the president and other leaders, the equipment is within the State House budget. So when you hear classified within the State House, it is going for the army. Part of the army. We have a security.
Classified equipment and classified expenditure. They are separated.
Yeah.
Yes.
It also goes for
it is because they are soldiers.
No, I'm telling you that as far as the operations are concerned, if the president, like now today, the president is in Yumbe, or is going to Yumbe, is on the way to Yumbe. Now, there's a deployment there. Those deployments in terms of the operations, the movement and so forth are not meant by the defense budget, they are meant by the State House budget. Because they have to move, they have to eat, they have to do ABCD. So
the movement of president is classified.
The planning for it will be classified.
The point I'm making is that when UPDF, when the SFC is now in the Yumbe, because the president is there, they had to move by road or by other means. So their movement has to be paid for under State House budget, not under defense budget. So as and many other things they do are paid for directly by the State House budget. So when Semuju comes here and starts talking, the residence of the president takes so much, president spends so much, that money is not spent on the person or the family of the president. My salary is part of it. My fuel.
Honorable Samja, switched off your microphone. We need to have a discussion.
The fuel for my vehicle.
Responded. We shall have more discussion.
The fuel for my vehicle is part of the State House budget. It's not a budget to the person of the president.
I've sat in Moses' car before. It always has a full tank. So, Joseph, you're on my microphone. And we'll go to Agora researcher last week.
Yeah,
it's really have some evidence.
It's really, really sad. I just want to link this, but very briefly, that yesterday, April the 11th, was the last day known formal as a National Liberation Day. I'm linking this to the letter of Mr. Museveni. April the 11th, 1979, we thought we were liberating our country from fascism and all this kind of agencies and returning to Uganda, to the hands of Ugandans. In that very same Mr. Museveni's letter, he suggests that they from NASA had been fighting for free since 1979 until 1987. That was the basis of his attempt, very malicious blackmail to Ugandans, to attempt to justify this direct, open national theft. Mr. Museveni says his Fronasa guys liberated Uganda. Yes, Fronasa generally contributed in part to the liberation of Uganda, but they were really nowhere in Kampala. They're very busy recruiting for their long, broader national and regional agenda. But what I find outstanding is that in that letter, Mr. Museveni talks about the National Liberation Day as a by the way, but emphasizes the national theft by claiming because these guys didn't work for free until 1987. Now they can steal money as they saw fit. In Mr. Museveni's letter, the justification is as if the money was not going for members of parliament, but rather to pacify the NRA guys, some of whom came with the half sleepers in 1986 that found me at Makerere University extremely poor. If that is the justification that we're doing for 40 years, it was a very big failure. Because the reason is this money went, in this case, to legislators, elected representatives. Many of these people had not been born. So what Mr. Museveni is saying is that actually bribing Ugandans, enriching group of Ranasa guys, and by this, it's a very patronizing thing. If there's anybody in NRA, particularly a legislator in NRA, who's receiving 100 million shillings from Mr. Museveni, and they're receiving this money in part because they're from us, and in part because they were poor, and in part because they've been working for nothing. No, you may have been working for nothing, but you're stealing our money. Nobody, at least from the 1971, UPC supported the liberation struggles and kept the Fronasa people and fed them, and many of them would have died of hunger in Tanzania.
So
but from 1981 to 1987, no Ugandan sent these guys to Luwero to go and break off people's necks. So the idea that now we are paying them back, for the gift that they gave us, this 1 month after beating up citizens in Kawempe is completely extraordinary. But that said, look,
yes.
My quick suggestion is this. Ugandans need to wake up. All Ugandans need to read Mr. Museveni's letter of yesterday and say that, look, going forward, seeing what I've been seeing in Busoga, in Bukedi, in Bugiso in the last 1 week alone, and we are giving 100 million Uganda shillings to few privileged individuals. MPs are already among the most highly paid people in this country. In fact, my suggestion is that we should slash their pay by half.
Yeah.
What should be done is Uganda should wake up and say, look, anybody who gets this money and is known to get this money should never be returned to the National Assembly.
Stopping for a break, then we'll get the Agora researcher. But Joseph, not many people, if you move across, not many people agree that there was a innocent UPC government.
It was extremely innocent.
I'm telling you, not many will believe with you that it was extremely innocent.
But
welcome back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. We'll allow Agatha to close out this discussion, and then we go to bail things.
Okay, so 100 million that was allegedly given to MPs. So most times where
you speak like a good lawyer, allegedly.
Where we don't, because I am. Where we don't have evidence, we look at previous character. The law of evidence allows that. So it's not the first time that MPs are receiving money for appreciation or passing something. So Honorable Abdan Semuja, I think, talked about the first one being term limits. There was money for age limit, consultations, also formal. Then the last formal one, as they said, was in 2020 during the COVID lockdown. Was it 20 million each? Now, the problem that happened, and that's when things changed. 2 MPs went to court to challenge it. Gerald Karuhanga and Jonathan Odu. And there was evidence because this money had been put on their accounts. The court order was that they return it. That's when we had
Samuju here. He had promised not to return it. Said he would be dragged to return it. But eventually he returned it.
No, the court did.
The court did.
So what they say that when birds learn to fly without patching, so they changed the tactic and started giving out money informally. So the first informal one in this 11th parliament was in April 2022. MPs were given 40 million each. They received it, and we actually talked about it, and they denied because, as they're saying, there's no evidence now. Later, an MP called Kagabo came carrying a briefcase of money, saying, I was given money, I've been told to return it. You know what happened. So now, because of that informality, everyone can deny receiving money. But that money is received all the time. What also has happened is that they pick those that might create, and even the opposition MPs receive it. Even the NUP MPs have been receiving it. I think now it's because they have seen that the social media is alert and they don't receive it, and they come and have all these press conferences. Or maybe they have repented, which would be a good thing. So that 40 million was in April 2022. It always follows a supplementary budget. And it's not true that anyone who doesn't support a position they are thanking them for is not given. They always budget for all the MPs. In December 2023, there was another supplementary budget passed. 100 billion was going to State House. Of that, I reported it. There was money to be given to MPs. You know, sometimes MPs actually, through their leaders, the leadership of Parliament, ask for it. Oh, the MPs are badly off, and we are going to Christmas. That's what happened in December 2023. So there was 100 million from the classified budget of State House still for MPs. That money came in January 2024 because the person who decides that they get money, the speaker had said, first to go, you will receive it later. If we give it to you now, you will spend it during Christmas and you'll come back and be crying for us. That time, Oscar, because evidence is always going to be there. It might not be there immediately. That time, there were videos of people receiving money from the Speaker's office, and I think there were 2 offices. I think also the Prime Minister. The videos were there on social media, so they couldn't deny, except even then, it was hard to tell if there's an MP who hasn't received it. So now, after that, I think that time, they still first gave them 50 million, and they said, let's keep for you this 50 million. We give it to you as children are going to school. This is last year, January 2024. Now, this one comes. I still had reported it before it came, after the passing of the supplementary budget. The last supplementary budget was passed mid-March or thereabouts. I still reported that there are reports that from the classified budget of State House, there's money going to MPs as a token of appreciation for both the coffee bill and also anticipation for them passing the UPDF amendment. Then it came to pass the other day, some people received. It's still not clear who hasn't received. I am told that there's a balance of 4.7 billion that hasn't been
gone out yet.
That hasn't gone out yet. But that would make it, because I think it would be too much. But that the Speaker had promised that everyone will get, even those opposition MPs will get. And there's balance that is still there. So some people are fighting for it and saying,
do you think
why
sometimes
don't you return
the
it?
president wants them to look bad, and that's if no one has leaked, so he leaks it?
It's quid pro quo. The president wants you give me something and take something. And I'm going to also tell you another example. Was it 2023, 2024, during the discussions of the budget, when the budget committee went to the State House to meet the president? So during that time,
the budget committee meets the president. He's the owner of the budget.
Last financial year, but one. When they were before the president, that's the year of the Rwabogo money, 37 billion. Yes. Now that's 37 billion. They had refused to pass it. So when they reached State House,
they abandoned us in Munyonyo and went to meet the president.
They reached State House and the president insisted, you must pass my budget, the things he wanted. And said, you think I don't know that even you guys are getting money from these entities? He even mentioned in the name and said the woman that was later even taken to jail over budget corruption from Ruengo.
Yeah.
So in essence he's saying, I will let you do whatever you want, pass as long as you pass my my budget. So both of them in this case,
you're saying the same things Joseph was saying without putting in UPC things.
Both the president and yeah. So now on that note, I want to respond just briefly about the president's letter in trying to sanitize that. So he was saying, I've given the money. You who fight corruption, why aren't you fighting corruption of people that receive money from external whatever funders? And then he said, if you are receiving, it is okay to receive money from here. I think that's in essence what he was saying. But if you're receiving money from Western funders, you're not only corrupt, you're also a traitor. I want to say it here, and I'm glad I'm glad that that even Jahanga is here.
Senior President Advisor.
That Museveni, that would make Museveni the most corrupt and the most treacherous person in this country. Like, he is the number one traitor. Because I will tell you why. The budget of Uganda, 40 years after Museveni has been in power, is funded 55% by external funders through debt and grants and aid. So
what are you saying? That if he makes
money from external funders makes one not only corrupt but also a traitor, that he would be the number one, because for 40 years straight, he has received money from external funders. Thank you.
I can see this lunch is going to be very long. You know, before you came, I made a confession.
Tone and reply. Really, is it about competition of who receives the funds from?
No, Abdul. Before you came in, I told Semuju.
It's about the blackmail that Joseph talked about. Yeah. If you come and Ugandans are asking, why are you? By the way, yes, I am.
No, the one the president said.
Yeah.
He didn't speak about money that ordinary civil society receive.
What was he speaking about?
He said money to promote homosexuality.
No, I have never received money.
No, that's homosexuality. Yeah, that's the one he was.
In that money, by
nobody who receives this goes on the microphone and says, "Yes, I've received money."
But he says she receives funding from outside.
No, for what reason?
For her
research. You mean Agatha?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
No,
nobody receives money for homosexuality. Say, yes, I've received money for homosexuality. So they will come and they do just fine.
But now homosexuality is receiving money for homosexuality.
No, I didn't say that, but maybe if I read the line between the lines.
You are vulgarizing, because homosexuality is illegal in Uganda.
Yes,
so you
okay, and Abdu is, because for me actually my biggest problem is that you come as a president to give Ugandans a position about an issue, and instead of even saying anything about it, you start blackmailing them. How come this?
Now I have to allow Moses to respond.
As if we don't know Museveni's friends of the last 40 years, and you can count, including on this program, big names from Europe, big names from North America.
Now let Moses respond.
So he created his own.
Who, Moses?
Museveni did not want to discuss the subject matter, so he chose his own topic.
Moses.
Well, Agatha is here saying Museveni does not receive money from outside.
You need to go to the microphone.
President Museveni does not receive money from outside. He does not. The government...
I only have Moses' microphone, because Ant has to finish his topic.
The government of Uganda has been borrowing, and borrowing is you pay back. It's not for free. You know it very well. In every budget, in every budget, there is money for repayment or debt repayment. Meaning, the money you got was not for free. But the ones he's talking about, the Agatha's get, is for free. You don't pay back. Don't pay back. So the government of Uganda, yes, borrows. There's no doubt about it. Everybody and those borrowings are.
I only have his microphone. I want it to. And those borrowings. There's only one. There's only one person against
the borrowing
so I should allow it.
By the government of Uganda is illegal. It is in the constitution. No loan can be passed without parliamentary approval. So the MPs who are here pass any loan of the government. So it's not a money for President Museveni, it's money for Uganda, and Uganda pays back through debt repayment. So there's no free money.
Yeah. You have a supporter here, Dr. Warren Namara says, Agatha should understand that President Museveni receives money for development, not for destabilizing and illegal schemes. That's Warren. So, Abdu, you have been talking about bail in Parliament, talking about bail and money, and why is it that the judiciary sees bail in terms of money? And now yesterday, even after I'd posted the topics for discussion, we see Dr. Besigye was denied bail. So I don't know how you link all that.
First of all, we are currently the budget process. So the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, where I'm honored to be the ranking member, was meeting the statutory and ministries that we pretend over. One of them is the judiciary. So I try to, because this is the only time you can hold the judiciary accountable. There is no constitutional mechanism where the judiciary can account it to its own people formally, and except at parliamentary level. So when meeting us, I raised what I thought were the concerns of the public. The quality of justice, actually it was even bigger, the quality of justice being dispensed by the judiciary. And I put it to them that actually the people of Uganda are dissatisfied. They are not happy with the quality of justice. And I went through quite a catalog of particular areas where I thought many Ugandans are complaining. Oscar and colleagues, you just need to know what is in these remand prisons. How many people are on remand without, so many people have been on remand for how long? It is not 2-3 years. We are talking about 5, 10, 20 years. And somebody is on remand. So even if he is found not guilty as acquitted, but he has served a sentence. And the Constitution clearly commands that we should look at anybody accused as innocent until proven guilty. And that is the reason why bail was introduced. It's constitutional. Don't convict this person to start serving a sentence before he's found guilty. So to go back to that particular aspect of bail, I think there is a dissatisfaction from the public, and I wish the judiciary can listen. Okay, so a few judges have been engaging me thereafter and telling me what has been going on their group, and even passing me what they have been exchanging and so on. Some of them are actually enraged. They are really, really not happy with what their colleagues are doing. And they have sent me their internal things, and it makes very interesting reading. But let me say one thing. Bail is so when somebody is taken to court, he's presumed innocent until that process ends. So, because he's presumed innocent, he's supposed to be out so long as he can guarantee that he will not abscond from bail or abscond from the trial, and 2, he will not interfere with the prosecution case. Those are the 2 cornerstones. What the courts have done is, 1, they have monetized the bail, that you must have money to be granted bail. It's in rare circumstances that they give what we call a court bond, or to be released on your own cognizance that somehow you will attend. Instead, it's about money. And I'm like, is it an economic function that the rich ones don't jump bail? Or why is it about money? And when you look at even the money now which has not been claimed but was paid, it is actually in billions lying there in the state coffers. So we need to think of another way of making sure that people can attend to their trial. Because if I've given 3 sureties and they have been bonded, all of them saying, well, if he absconds, we shall pay this sort of money. Yeah. And you found them substantial. Why do you guide and say, even you are accused, now you pay this amount even before we consider these sureties of yours? To me, it does not make sense. And this is a honest conversation, other than them getting annoyed. And by the way, I need to say this, Oscar. Everybody holding a public office is subject to scrutiny. And it doesn't matter who, whether you're a judge or whether you're an MP. That's why we're even having this conversation we've been having, both whether about Inspire Africa, whether about the alleged 100 and so on. It's because these offices are subject to public scrutiny, including those one of judges. So judges should not think that actually they are beyond scrutiny. That's why we discuss the only judgments when they have been made. So when Oscar is, I have just looked at this ruling again of Dr. Kiza Besigye. The judge finds that actually Dr. Kiza Besigye qualifies for bail. Yes. Then he said much as if qualifies. But in my opinion, he's too influential, he re-influenced.
He's almost guilty.
And to me it is like, but there is no facts before you to make that finding. Because you see what would have happened is like the prosecution should have proved that actually Dr. Besigye is in the habit of interfering. Or these are the facts, even when he has been there, has tried to do this to interfere with this process. But pure an allegation, and you believe it, I think that is very unfortunate. Then the second one was that the accused is being charged of a very serious offense. No, that is not a legal consideration. Because if it was, nobody accused of a serious offense would ever get bail. So that alone, the seriousness of the offense alone, cannot be a reason to deny you bail. It can only be coupled with other consideration, which he had already found that actually Dr. Besigye, what's the word? Dr. Besigye meets, whether about sureties. Yes. Say that there are those who are charged with treason who are out on bail. They are there. And even Dr. Besigye himself, actually, he had been charged of prison before, and he was given bail, and he attended. And there is evidence there. So there was no precedent on which to base that sort of decision. So I find that what happened yesterday proves my case of the whole week, which went viral, about my views on the way bail is being handled.
Agatha is the other lawyer in the studio. Bail and Dr. Besigye.
Okay,
and we're running out of time.
So first, in all the maybe over 100 times Besigye has been arrested, this is the longest he has spent in jail. Because
there's a time he wanted to go back to jail, and the judge
over
said
100 times he has been arrested.
Gone.
When you say over 100, you're even talking about 500. That's why I used the word. So, and you know, on all those hundreds of times he's been given bail, because he's never been convicted at any point, but also most of these
when he has been given bail, he attends.
Yeah, he keeps going there back and forth until they discharge him. So yesterday's case, and that's a ruling, and that's the other thing that Abdu would say. It seems like it affects me because it made me so angry. So angry. I think apart from being abusing her power, the judge is also very heartless. Like, made us raised our hopes so high, because on every ground of bail, she agreed. She resolved it in the affirmative. She said that the sureties who include Semuju here, that where you are saying that they are younger than the accused, that it doesn't matter. It's not written anywhere that they must be necessarily older. On the seriousness of the offense, and by the way, she alluded to cases of Besigye like 3 times, where he has been accused before, the rulings in Besigye's favor before. On the seriousness of the offense, that the FDC guys that were arrested in Kisumu recently, they were also charged with treason. They are out on bail. So she referred to that case, Sam Mako and others. So she kept saying that I agree, and she reached and said, although he meets all the conditions of bail, I deny him bail, because there was no reason. So, but also this is you are talking about someone who has been in detention for 5 months now. Like Abd said, the law in this country is that you are innocent until you're proven guilty, and it is the state that should prove that you are guilty, or you pleading guilty on your own. So if in 5 months you have not yet even...
I'm going to interrupt you because we
let
are
me
left
just
with 4 minutes of the show.
So you know that they have not yet even committed Chiza Besigye to the High Court. So there's nothing they have done about that case. And you as a judge, you're saying that someone should remain in jail for as long as the state will take conducting investigations. There is a limit to pre-trial detention.
Yeah. Moses, do you have something to say on this one? I'd be surprised if you do.
Why?
He never comments on these things.
No, that's for Abu to. That's for on such a matter as Abu is my representative. But Agatha here mentioned that when the president made a committee or budget committee of parliament, he said, "Pass my budget."
That he did.
Well, the president is the owner of the budget. There's no doubt about it. It is by law. No,
Samaji, your microphone is not on.
No.
Moses, you speak. His microphone is not on.
The budget
He's going to
under
speak
the Constitution
for 2 minutes.
is presented to Parliament by the president. The minister of... Yeah, the president is his.
It is his budget. Samaji, we are out of time. You are coming for your 1 minute.
It is his budget to implement the policies
I have agreed with you,
president
Moses.
promised the people of Uganda in a manifesto. So the budget of a president, and so in any country, the budget is a vehicle for implementing what the president or the party or the ruling party has promised to the people of that country.
Thank you, Moses. Joseph, your 1 minute. So
I am suitably impressed by the submissions made by Abdu and of course Agatha. Abdu, I really hope you're able to develop this beyond this and make sure that you're able to translate it into a private member's bill, and maybe it goes into Parliament, becomes active legislation. This major review of the bail, but I know, of course, there'll be major contradictions with the NRA colleagues in Parliament, including the fact that now part of the bribe is about the UPDF thing. The manner in which this thing happened, and the manner in which actually it was concluded, and the manner in which it was concluded yesterday, the context of the language, and the manner in which that almost Kada judge, I dare say, did it almost as if she was getting instruction that having found all those not quite fine, yeah, you must have a bat because Besigye must continue to be in jail. I think it was a very sad day yesterday, but I really hope that looking forward, this question of the judiciary, where people like us were able to have this kind of conversation and not see the experiences outside, we're able to continue speaking and be able to translate it. Not forgetting the fact, of course, that I have a matter in court which is 4 years, but it's supposed to have been 3 months. But the people who are suffering are ordinary Ugandans.
You see, I was in Masaka when the High Court judge granted Honorable Segiri and Alan bail.
Sewanya.
Yes. And their being MP was one of the grounds. Then Museveni ordered they should be rearrested, taken back to same Masaka court, but now with a different judge. And he said their being MPs means they will interfere. I sympathize with children who are doing law. And you're going to be reading these judgments from judges of High Court. The case of Dr. Besigye, I was in court. Because you see, the judge, I was under the impression that she had written a judge granting bail, but when it went for approval to Chiwanu Kachiriowa, who I'm told is a godfather, he said, okay, because we don't have time, like the NRM MPs do with the budget. The body reads something else, the conclusion reads another.
Judge should take our responsibility. I don't want to be an excuse.
No. I want to argue this in the context. Because this judge, given a free atmosphere, I don't think she would have written the judgment that she wrote and then made that stupid conclusion.
But she wrote it.
Yeah. But I want us to argue these things in context, Oscar. Because the judge grants Alan and Museveni order for their arrest. The same thing that happened to the MPs who were arrested for corruption. And Museveni was telling cabinet, I am the one who ordered for their rearrest. But these policemen should never go to arrest people when they are not in uniform, because they make it look like it's
a kidnapping.
Yes, so
you know his opinions on bail. He's not a fan of bail.
Yeah, so that context cannot be missed in a debate like this. So, because you see, this particular judge said on everything, as Agatha has said, that Besigye has met the requirement. Although you have met the requirement, I am denying you the bail. And we were in court in the morning. The judge was nowhere. Even the registrar took time.
But she's not going to get judged after that.
But she was there to hear the case after being transferred to the Judicial Service Commission.
They sworn just 2 days ago.
Yeah, but she knew she had been appointed. So really, until the case of Besigye, Museveni and his son, they want to kill Besigye without doubt. So the shortcut was the military court. The court now disbanded the military court. Now they must use the formal court. And
he also wants to kill you. No,
the son, he says he will kill me this year, but it doesn't matter. So maybe they are going to start with the message. Then all of us will follow.
It is the one.
Because he said he really feels very bad that his uncle Kagame has killed many people. Him, he has killed the rest.
Yes. We are out of time. Joseph, you say you want to make a comment?
No, a fantastic young student from Besigye University who's a real maker of this program says hello to all of you and mentions names from Oscar, Abdu, Moses, Agatha, and everyone else. I thought
Thank
it
you,
was
everyone.
very
Thanks,
nice.
gangsters of the day. Honorable Abdu Katuntu,
and that wisdom is a UPC institution.
I'm going to teach Abdu Kampala roads. Thank you, Honorable Semuju. Thank you, Joseph Otieno. Thank you, Agatha Ato Haire. Thank you, Moses Biarohanga. I am Oscar Semoyamsoke, and I shall see you next week.